Today we have two topics, consumer surplus and producer surplus. From the name we can easily understand the definition. I think consumer surplus is related to the consumer, and the next topic is producer surplus, which is related to the producers. So now the first question is, what is consumer surplus? Consumer surplus is the difference between the consumer willing to pay and the market price. Suppose you want to buy 1 kg of onion from the market, and the price is, let's say, taka 50. This amount you willing to pay to buy 1 kg of onion. Okay, but actually when you go to the market, you see the price is taka 45, 1 kg onion. So this difference is the consumer surplus. In that case, what will be your consumer surplus? You consumer willing to pay taka 50, but actually he is paying taka 45.
5 taka.
5 taka is the consumer surplus. So you see, the consumer surplus refers to the difference between what a consumer is willing to pay and what they paid for a product. This is the consumer surplus. The consumer is willing to pay and the actual market price. This difference is the consumer surplus. The consumer surplus mathematically is related to the demand curve. Let's say demand curve is this, y equal to dx, and another curve is supply curve, y equal to sx. Mathematically, when we define a function, we write y as a function of x like this. But in economics, here for demand and supply curve, two of them is related to the price. So the function will be like this, p equal dx or p equal sx. So what happened in the demand curve? Dam kome gele demand bade. Demand means x, number of product, and here p indicates price. So demand curve will be like this. It will be like this. And what happened in the supply curve? When price increases, then supply increases. This is p as a function of sx, and this curve is also p as a function of dx. This axis is p axis, price, and this axis is the number of units. But the point where two curves intersect each other, demand curve and supply curve intersect each other, is called equilibrium point. যে বিন্দুতে দুইটা কার্ভ ইন্টারসেক্ট করে এটার নাম কি?
Equilibrium point. Here demand and supply is equal, right, sir?
হ্যাঁ, demand price, supply price equal at the equilibrium point, and this is called market price. P0 is the market price and x0 is the market quantity. If the equilibrium point is x0 p0, this one, then x0 is the market quantity or equilibrium quantity, and p0 is the market price. Now I said before, the difference between market price and the consumer willing to pay is the consumer surplus. So in mathematics, you see I said consumer surplus is related to the demand curve. This is your x0 is here and p0 is here. So x0 is the market demand, right, or equilibrium market quantity x0. তার মানে কি একটা নির্দিষ্ট সময়ে মার্কেটে যে ডিমান্ড আছে কাস্টমারের টোটাল হচ্ছে x0, বুঝতে পারছেন? তাহলে টোটাল কনজিউমার উইলিং টু পে, টোটাল হাউ মাচ, total will be this area. This is the total amount of money consumer willing to pay, this one. If the market demand is x0, then this area is the total amount of money consumer willing to pay. Does it make sense? Since this is demand curve, আচ্ছা এখন আসেন তাহলে the total amount of money consumer willing to pay is this, the whole area under this curve from 0 to x0. So how can we calculate total area? Through integration. In our last class probably I said integration calculates area between two curves or area under a curve. Suppose you have a curve y equal to fx like this. Now you want to know area from x equal a to x equal b of this irregular region. This area through definite integration we can denote by this symbol a to b fx dx. So this integration will calculate this area under this curve. So if you want to calculate area below a curve up to below a curve to x-axis, so here actually you have two curves. One is this one is given curve and another curve is x-axis. You want to know this area, therefore you can calculate it by using this integration formula, definite integration. So what will be the area of this region through integration? Here your lower limit is what? এই এরিয়াতে x এর lower value কত? Upper limit x0, because you want to know this area under demand curve which is p equal dx under this curve from 0 to x0. So you can calculate it through definite integration 0 to x0 dx. This d, capital D, indicates demand function, but this d, small d, indicates with respect to x. In our last class I discussed symbol of integration of y dx. This symbol means integration of y with respect to x. So here it means integration of demand function with respect to x. This integration will calculate this area, right? Now if you want to know consumer surplus, which is this shaded region, you will get if you subtract the total market price for x0 amount of product. So you need to subtract this area, white region. So how can we calculate this area? We need to take help from integration in order to calculate area of a area of a rectangle. রেক্ট্যাঙ্গেলের এরিয়া আমরা বের করতে তো ইন্টিগ্রেশন লাগে না, তাই না?
No, sir.
কিভাবে বের করবেন? ধরেন এরকম একটা রেক্ট্যাঙ্গেল আছে, এই যে এরকম, যেটার লেংথ বি অ্যান্ড উইথ এ।
Sir, regular geometric process.
হ্যাঁ, রেগুলার জিওমেট্রিক ফর্মুলা উই ক্যান ইউজ। দ্য এরিয়া অফ দিস rectangle will be what?
AB.
AB
Into
into B. Length times width. So here, what will be the area of this rectangle? এই rectangle length কত? বা width?
P naught.
P naught x
P0
naught.
into x0.
P0 x0 এটাকে বাদ দিতে হবে, যে P0 x0. If you subtract this area, then you will get CS, consumer surplus. So this is our formula to know the consumer surplus of a given demand function. Therefore, this area indicates consumer surplus. And mathematically, this area we can calculate by definite integration. We first need to calculate the whole area, that will be 0 to x0, demand curve dx minus area of this dotted part. Area of this dotted part will be x0 p0. If you subtract this dotted part from the whole part, you will get consumer surplus. Does it make sense?
Yes, sir.
আচ্ছা, ভেরি গুড। এখন আমরা একটু প্রডিউসার সারপ্লাসের আগে এই রিলেটেড ম্যাথসগুলো একটু দেখে নিই। বিফোর দ্যাট ইউ নিড টু নোট দিস রিমার্কস, দিস ওয়ান। Under monopoly, what will happen? This is the regular competition. The definition I said here, under perfect competition or pure competition, the price P0 is determined by equating the demand and supply function. From this relation, the demand x0 is calculated. What they want to say here, if you know demand function and supply function, then the point of intersection will help us to calculate P0 x0. But under monopoly business, the price P0 is determined by this relation. When the market is in monopoly means একচেটিয়া। ধরেন একটা মার্কেটে কোনো একটা প্রোডাক্ট একটা দোকানে আছে,
স্যার কোনো কম্পিটিটর নাই আর কি।
হ্যাঁ, there is no competitor in the market. ধরেন আপনি চায়না থেকে একটা প্রোডাক্ট ইনপুট দিলেন বাংলাদেশে, যেটা অন্য কোনো কোম্পানি এখনো ইনপুট দিতে পারে নাই। তো এই ক্ষেত্রে for that product the market will be monopoly. So under monopoly, the P0 you need to determine from this relation. Marginal revenue will be equal to marginal cost under monopoly. But if the market is not monopoly, then this relation is not true. When the market is monopoly, then marginal revenue will be equal to marginal cost. From this price value P0, we obtain the corresponding value of x0, then we can calculate consumer surplus. তাহলে এখানে আপনি যেটা মনে রাখবেন সেটা হলো, যদি মার্কেট মনোপলি হয়, then you need to calculate P0 from this relation, MR equal to MC. Okay, so in order to calculate consumer surplus, you need to know three items. First, you need to know demand function. You must need to be given demand function, and x0 p0 you need to know. If you know three items, then you can calculate CS. Now in this problem, you see the demand law for a commodity is this. This is the demand law. Actually this P should be small p. এখানে typing mistake আছে. This P should be small p. This one also should be small p. Small p. এখানে যতগুলা ক্যাপিটাল P দেখতেছেন সবগুলো এটা আসলে এরকম না হয়, it should be x0 p0. Okay, this one should be small p because P indicates price. আমরা এর আগেও প্রাইস কে স্মল p দিয়ে ডিনোট করে এসেছি ফার্স্ট চ্যাপ্টারে। So the demand function is this: P equal 20 minus q0, q square, where q is the quantity. Find the consumer's surplus when the demand is this. Demand কে আমরা ডিনোট করি কি দিয়ে? x0 দিয়ে না এই ফর্মুলাতে? হ্যাঁ, ডিমান্ডটা ছিল x0, market demand and market price. But here your demand function is a function of q, so it should be q0. Q0 is given, which is 3. Now if you put q0 in this function, p0 is equal 20 minus q0 minus q0 square. If you put 3 here, then it will be 8. So now you know p0, you know q0, and you know your demand function fq or dq লিখতে পারেন। 0 to q0 dq লিখতে পারেন, ডিমান্ড ফাংশন dq minus p0 q0. So now if you put q0, which is 3, and dq is this. dq actually p is a function of q. P is a function of q. So which is 20 minus q square dq minus p0, which is 8, into q0, which is 3. And we know integration of 20 equal what? নিশ্চয়ই আপনাদের মনে আছে দুই একজনের 20q minus integration of q, which is q square by 2, minus integration of q square, which is q cube by 3, minus 24. এখন কি করব? আগে আপার লিমিট বসাবো না লোয়ার লিমিট?
আপার লিমিট।
সো এখানে যদি আপার লিমিট বসান কি হবে? 20 into 3 কত? 60, minus 3 square by 2, 9 by 2, minus 3 cube by 3, 27 by 3. And if you put lower limit, it will be 0, minus 24. And final result will be 45 by 2. Do you have any question? Anyone?
No, sir.
Achha, very good. Now problem 14. The quantity sold and the corresponding price under a monopoly. You see, the market is in monopoly, determined by this demand function and the marginal cost in such a way as to maximize profit. Determine the consumer surplus. And if you again look into this note, Under monopoly, marginal revenue will be equal to marginal cost in order to maximize profit. So here marginal cost is given. Marginal cost is given 15 plus x. You need to calculate marginal revenue to make equal. By equating MR equal to MC, you can calculate x0. So we are given marginal cost. Now, in order to calculate marginal revenue, we first need to calculate revenue function. We know revenue equal price times quantity, Px, right? ওই যে ফার্স্ট চ্যাপ্টারে পড়ছিলেন রেভিনিউ ইকুয়াল প্রাইস টাইমস সেলিং প্রাইস পার ইউনিট টাইমস কোয়ান্টিটি।
Yes, sir.
আচ্ছা, এখন পি ইজ গিভেন ইউ সি 25 মাইনাস এক্স স্কোয়ার, 25 মাইনাস এক্স স্কোয়ার ইন্টু এক্স, which is 25x minus x cube. This is your revenue function. Now marginal revenue is what? আচ্ছা বলেন তো, ধরেন আপনার টোটাল কস্ট ফাংশন এরকম y equal to mx plus c. We know this is total cost function. Now what is marginal cost here in calculus? dy dx. In calculus, dy dx is the marginal cost. When you are given a cost function, then marginal cost will be its first derivative. When you are given a revenue function, then marginal revenue will be its first derivative. তাহলে এখানে marginal revenue will be what? dr dx, first derivative of r, which is 25 minus x cube. Make sense? Sorry, 25 minus 3x square. 3x square. If you differentiate x cube, it is 3x square, and differentiation of 25x is 25. So the marginal revenue is 25 minus 3x square. So এখন এই দুইটা আপনি জানেন, MR জানেন, MC জানেন, দুইটাকে লেখেন MR equal to MC, এটাকে সলভ করেন, সলভ করলে x এর মান বের করলে দুইটা x এর মান পাবেন, ঠিক আছে? বাট নাম্বার অফ কোয়ান্টিটি ক্যান নট বি নেগেটিভ, সুতরাং এটা বাদ, এটা বাদ, এটা আসলে নেগেটিভ হবে এখানে। x should not be equal to -2, therefore x equal to 5/3. So this is your equilibrium quantity or market demand. x0 is equal 5/3. Now if you put x0 in this function, you will get p0, market price. p0 equal 25 minus x square, means 5/3 whole square, which is equal 200/9. So you know demand function, you know equilibrium quantity, you know equilibrium price, therefore, or market quantity, market price. Therefore, using your consumer surplus formula, you can easily now calculate CS.